Welcome to Measuring Success Right, the official podcast of the Marriott Student Review, a podcast for students by students, where we connect the leaders of tomorrow with the issues of today.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Measuring Success Right. This week, we'll be having another episode of our mini-series, the How Did I Get Here?, where we're talking to students about how they pick their major and what they like about it. This week, we're excited to have Dani Mattsson with us. Dani Mattsson is originally from Santa Rosa, California, and she is a senior in the Experience Design Management program at the Marriott School of Business. And one fun fact about her is that one of her hobbies is film photography. Dani, we're really excited to have you on the podcast. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Well, let's get right into it. So you're in the Experience Design Management program, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and why you picked it, and tell us your story.
Yeah, sure. So Experience Design and Management it's an amazing program. And part of the reason it's so amazing is because you have a lot of flexibility with it. You can do anything from hospitality and tourism to recreation to venue management to event management to HR to customer experience. There's just so many different avenues you can take, which is one of the reasons I was so drawn to it, because I'm insanely indecisive. But I actually started out trying a lot of different majors before I landed on experience design, but I'm really glad I ended up where I ended up.
That's awesome. So you said that you were in a bunch of other majors before you chose experience design management. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, sure. So when I first started out here at BYU, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I was undecided for a while. And then I got into the BYU photo program. And I did that for a while, and I loved it. So that's why I do film photography on the side. I still really love photography and stuff like that. But I kind of decided I wanted to go a different route, just so I would have a little bit more, variety in my life and variety of things I was going to be able to do. And so I applied to the communication disorders program because I wanted to be a speech language pathologist for a while, but I didn't get in. So then I was so sad. I didn't know what to do. So I just started, I knew I wanted to minor in business. That's the only thing I knew. So I started taking all of the business minor classes. And I had a friend who told me about experience design and how much she loved it. And she was like, hey, you have to take this for your this class, Creating a Good Life, for your business minor anyways. You should just take it right now, like with all the other business minor classes. So all in the same semester, I was in finance, accounting, marketing, Creating a Good Life. And Creating a Good Life was my favorite class. And I just loved it. And I really liked my other classes too. So I decided to do experience design, and I was just drawn to also the people in it, and it sounded right up my alley, kind of merging like creativity, but also like logic, or like like left brain thinking or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like this may be the answer, that you felt like it was the right major for you in the Creating a Good Life class, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that class you learn a lot about, there's a lot of like positive psychology stuff in it. So you learn about how to create your own good life through strategies that you learn about in positive psychology, but you also learn how to create good lives for other people around you. And I just really liked that idea, like being able to create experiences for people that can be like transformative.
That's awesome. Can you remember the single moment when it finally clicked, like, oh, this is what I want to do? Do you think you had that kind of moment, or was it more just like gradual?
Yeah, so honestly, when I applied to the major, I still didn't know for sure. I was I was actually doing an internship in Sacramento, and like 2 days before the application was due, I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to apply. So I did everything. So on my internship in Sacramento, I was working. It was COVID summer. So I was all by myself in a trailer on a construction site.
Oh, wow.
So I made my video in the trailer like that day of work because nobody was like coming in for tours because it was COVID. So I didn't have a lot to do that day. So the last day you could turn it in, I made my video in the trailer and sent in my application. And luckily they accepted me. But so I would say like once I was in my major, I had this class by Matt Duerden, and I met my group for the first time. We were on the red team, and he gave us our first project, and it just felt so right. Like, I was just so excited about everything we were doing. I loved all the people in my group. I'm still, that red team, I'm still like, they're like some of my best friends, and we were just randomly assigned together. It's so fun, but yeah, so I think that's when I knew, like, once I actually started doing it, I was like, yeah, this is right.
That's awesome. So what were you doing for that internship, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, so I was a marketing intern at an assisted living facility. And so most of what I was doing is I was creating marketing materials for them. I was doing a lot of, like, graphic design stuff because it was COVID, so we couldn't do a lot of like experiential marketing kind of things. But I also, like, people would still come in occasionally and we would like wear masks and be like safe and everything.
Sure.
But so I'd sometimes give tours, like, even though the building was under construction, so a lot of it was like virtual tours, like showing them what it's going to look like on the computer. So I got to do a lot of sales work too, which was good. My dad, like, is so the person that's like, everybody's got to have sales experience. So now I can tell him I have sales experience, so I never have to do that again.
That's awesome.
But yeah, but I really liked it. It was super cool. It was the first time I like lived completely by myself ever. So yeah.
That's very cool. Well, awesome. So transitioning to get into the major, your story might be a little bit different because you did it spontaneously.
Yeah.
But what do you recommend for people who are thinking, oh, maybe I want to do, experience design management? What is the best way for them to prepare to get into the program?
So I highly recommend not doing it spontaneously because it was so stressful. Like, I did not need to do that to myself, but I did. I would highly recommend joining the Experience Design Society Club. I feel like they're constantly doing activities. They're constantly giving you opportunities to network and meet professors and things like that. Another thing I would say is I would really try and think about your past work experience, because chances are you'll be able to, most everything you've done kind of involves experience design. Like, even when I was applying, that internship that I was on was the only, like, internship experience I had had in college. But I was still kind of able to think about it in an experience design way so that when I turned in my resume, all my bullet points kind of had that focus towards them. And then the third thing I would say is for the video is be yourself. I think one thing for my video is, and I know a lot of people didn't really do this, but I didn't talk once in my video. Like, it was all like stop motion stuff and clips of like past events, because I was ASB president in high school. So there was like clips from events I had done in high school. And there was like clips. Maybe we can put the link to my video on my podcast thing, because I feel like I'm doing a bad job of explaining it. And there was like music in the back. So I think, but that was kind of me. Like, in a lot of it, my whole video, the idea was about, I had all my film cameras with me, and the whole idea was, let's create moments that we want to capture. So I think like taking parts of you and like implementing it into your video, I feel like just helps the admissions team be able to, I don't know, like actually understand you without meeting you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what have you enjoyed most about the program itself?
I really love the people in my program. Like I said, that red team, they're like still some of my best friends. But I also love the coursework. I feel like, I mean, obviously it's probably going to be like this because it's experience design, but it's so experience oriented. This semester I'm actually in a class where I'm working with a company. Almost every class I've worked with a company, honestly.
Oh, wow.
And which is awesome because I have so much stuff for my resume, so many like projects that I've done. But this semester we're working with Wandered, which is a photography, commuting and travel bag company.
Okay.
And we're working on like their customer experience journey. And right now we're like redesigning their whole unboxing experience for them. So like when you receive your bag and you open it up, like what is that experience? How is it making you feel? That sort of thing. And so I really love that, like always being able to have I have so many things for my portfolio and for my resume. The major really just lends itself. It sets you up well for finding a job.
That's awesome. And maybe can you talk a little bit about what are the positions that people from your program typically go into? Like what does a future career look like?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually on the job hunt right now. So if anybody listening has any leads for me, no, I'm kidding. But I honestly I have 5 different resumes. So because I apply to so many different kinds of jobs, and depending on what the job is and what it entails, I'll send in a different resume. So like last week, I interviewed for a PR management position.
Okay.
The week before that, I interviewed with the Jazz to be an account executive. Another time I interviewed to just be like a social media manager to do like marketing that way. I've even interviewed to be like an academic advisor, which I actually think would be so awesome. And again, it just shows like how many different things you can do with experience design. But yeah, no, if you go to the Experience Design website, they have like a whole job chart that explains everything with all the different categories, like the ones I was kind of talking about at the beginning, like hospitality, customer experience, HR, those kind of things. And it'll lay it out really well. But yeah, there's so many different things you can do. But I would say it is the business school. So like a lot of times the jobs are a little bit business oriented. But I mean, experience design is everywhere, and it's like involved in everything, so you can kind of do whatever you want with it.
That's awesome. That's really cool. If you had to pick maybe a class or a project, what was the most challenging class or project?
Oh, my IS class, hands down. But that's only because I'm really good at like the creative side of computers. Not to say IS isn't creative because like we made our own website in that class, but more like the beginning half of the class, where it was like hard like coding, like I totally am very blanking what it's called, the Excel coding and the VBA and the SQL, like all that stuff. That was challenging for me. But it totally relates to experience design. A lot of people do like user experience and work with websites. So that's just like not something that I'm the best at. But if you are into that, whoever's listening, the experience design also has a great avenue for that sort of thing. But another hard class, I would say, honestly, maybe not a class, but just finding ways to stay creative and to constantly be creative. I think that's kind of hard. Just because like creativity like ebbs and flows sometimes. But I think those would be my 2 most challenging things with the major.
Yeah. So would you say there's a pretty high pressure to be creative all the time in the program, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends. It depends what classes you take too. Like my hospitality, I'm in a hospitality and tourism class right now, and that's a little bit more focused on career aspirations and like meeting with professionals and things like that instead of actually like creating something in Adobe and turning it in.
Okay.
But my experiential marketing class, we did a lot of Adobe stuff, which honestly, like if you had asked another experienced design student, they might have said that was their hardest class, even though I loved it, but I'm kind of like a geek for stuff like that. So, yeah, that class was like, I was like having to really like up my input of other creative stuff so I could like constantly be inspired and like create new things. And just not even like hard, not even creativity where you get like a hard product, but even just creativity within like systems and processes and things like that, because a lot of those things affect experience as well. So, but we do a lot of design thinking, which makes that process a lot easier.
That's awesome. Could you speak to the social environment of the program? How has that been?
Oh, it's so social. Like, everybody's always hanging. Me and my red team, like, we hang all the time. But there's like, on our teams, on our is it Google Teams?
Yeah,
I forget.
Teams,
I think it's Google Teams. On our majors Google Teams, there is like somebody texting in there every day, like, we're going rock climbing, come hang. Or we're going to the park for a picnic, like, everybody should come. It's so social. It's so fun. And I think part of that is just the people that are drawn to the major. They're people who, like, want to have fun experience and want to do fun things. And I will say, too, if you're somebody who likes the outdoors, I feel like everybody in my major is a sucker for, like, anything outdoors, which I love outdoors, but I'm not, like, very good at rock climbing and stuff. I wish I was. But, so, yeah, if you're into anything like that, so many people in my major love that stuff.
That's awesome. Kind of transitioning now, do you have any advice for students who are unsure about a major, not sure what to do, what to try? What would be your advice for someone picking a major?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I definitely can answer this question just out of experience because I had such a hard time picking and deciding. I would say one thing that I figured out kind of later that I wish I would have figured out sooner is what work style I like. So I'm like a very people-oriented person. Like, I want to be working with people. I want to be talking with people. And I'm also a very team-oriented person. I really like working on group projects. I know some people don't, but I love it. Our major has a lot of group projects. I really like being on a team. I really like being able to bounce ideas off of people. And my third thing is I don't love to sit at a desk all day. I'm someone who wants to be like moving, getting things done, being outside, even stuff like that. So it kind of depends. But I think once I figured out those 3 things about myself, it was a lot easier for me to figure out what I wanted to do. And also, I think, like, because I feel like people told me that before, and I was like, well, I don't know how to figure that out. I feel like for me, the way I figured it out was just doing it. Like, doing my marketing internship in Sacramento, and honestly just being in the, like, the speech-language pathology prereqs and being in the photo program. Like, I was just able, I feel like when you just do it, when you just try things, you're able to feel like it's kind of like failing forward. Like, you just figure things out really fast instead of just, like, doing research because you're actually in it.
Yeah. How do you measure success in your life, and what does success mean to you?
Okay. See, I don't think Ryan said at the beginning. I'm one of the other co-managing editors in MSR, and I hear this question every week when I listen to the podcast, and I always think, I don't know what I would say. So I need to think about it for a second. But I think for me, the way I measure success is I've been thinking a lot lately about just, like, happiness and how, like, everybody's focused on being happy, and I think that's important. But I also think sometimes, like, success isn't happy. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes having success is kind of hard. Especially, like, being on the job hunt that I'm in right now. Like, I'm honestly, it's not happy. It's it's a grind and it's a struggle, but also like getting all the interviews I'm getting and having so many different experiences, that in itself is also a success. So I think for me, something I've really been thinking about is finding success even when it's not like stereotypical success, if that makes sense. Like kind of like being content and like trusting where like God and life takes you, obviously. And then I think how I would define, so kind of going along with that, I think how I would define success is kind of being able to roll with the punches in any capacity and just having that adaptability and just realizing like, you know, life has hills and valleys. And even if you're in a valley right now, that just means a hill's coming. You know what I mean? And just being okay with that and being able to get the most out of whatever situation you're in. I feel like that is what I try to strive for.
Perfect. Dani, thanks for sharing your insights and your experience with us. Thank you, everyone, also for listening to our podcast, and have a great week.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Make sure you subscribe to our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or SoundCloud so you never miss an episode. Be a friend and tell a friend about measuring success right.
This podcast is a project of the Marriott Student Review at Brigham Young University. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Marriott Student Review or online at marriottstudentreview.org.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect official policy or position of Brigham Young University or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.